Well, joining us now in the studio is PYHIA Robinson, founder of Reggae Britannia. So interesting to run through some of the other sports and I suppose parts of culture that have made the list. But you must be very pleased about the UN's recognition of reggae. What does it mean for reggae music and fans of reggae music?
Absolutely, we welcome the news. I mean, it means a lot to us. I'm not saying that we don't know that it is a cultural treasure. Of course it is, to us and all reggae lovers all over the world. But for it to actually have the UN's approval just means that it's absolutely amazing. I mean, reggae music is loved all over the world, but in particular in Britain, it's got like a huge entrenched history, you know, of bringing unity and diversity here. So we welcome it 100%.
Tell us a bit more about that, because reggae emerged from the Caribbean in the late 1960s. What was it about reggae? What was it that fueled its rise to prominence and made it so prevalent in the US, but mainly here in the UK?
I think it's funny because you had the punk rockers and you had the skinheads that just really took to it. I think it's all about the fact that it brought freedom, that rebellion, that freedom of voice, that love. And, you know, it's not something that Britain had ever seen before, you know. Before, there was no reggae here. And as soon as my grandparents, I can say, brought it in their suitcase and was playing it, you know, on their vinyls. And I think it just brought that essence of culture, which was much needed here. And, you know, I'm very proud of that, absolutely.
And what was the purpose of reggae? Because you've said that it's more than a genre of music. You've said that it's quite spiritual. You've described it as a movement. For people that might not have experienced reggae music, help us to understand why it captures the imagination.
Well, we've got to remember where reggae is coming from, and it's important not to leave out Rastafarianism, because that's been the backbone of reggae music, and we can see that from the legend Bob Marley. He's carried that with him. He never left out his roots as being a Rastafarian. So, you know, at the end of the day, I believe that people listening to reggae, yeah, you hear the sound, but they hear the roots of it, they hear the music, they hear the core of it, and that message was about truth, rights and justice. You know, it came out of a time where Black people were facing a lot of injustice, especially in the Caribbean. And so when people hear it, there's parts of them that can identify. You listen to any reggae song and you feel, yeah, I can hear that, whether it's a love song, whether it's a song that's talking about something happening in your life. And I think that's what captures people. It's more than just a genre of music. It's more than just a sound. It's a spiritual vibration. And as I said, love, really.
You're mentioning your parents and grandparents there, and there's been a great deal of debate here in the UK about the Windrush generation and the issues around that. Is reggae music as relevant now as it was in the 60s and 70s?
Absolutely, even more so. When I think of my grandparents, I think of the gram. Not a lot of people know about that gram that, you know, you could put a vinyl on and play. And I hear stories from my parents, especially my dad, when he used to run around on, you know, the carpet listening to different reggae songs. And I think it's so relevant. It's so important that we grasp reggae based on what it's saying in terms of all the things that are happening in the world. Reggae music's the only genre, and I can say that really brings about unity and love. It always pulls that through. And anywhere you go in the world and you hear reggae, someone has to dance, whether they understand it or not. It's just got that feeling. It's got that vibrance.
You can't help it, can you?
Can't help it.
Thank you very much, PYHIA Robinson, from Head of Media for Reggae Britannia. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, there is more